Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is this roller ramp clutch. I apologize for walking in front of the camera, but I'm trying to get here as fast as I can to make this as short as possible. Now, this is a special clutch, and I'm going to kind of bring this up close as I can to the camera. You're going to notice that it has what looks like in there, like the roller needle bearings or something. But essentially, they are set up in a manner to where they kind of roll in one direction, but as you start to move in the opposite direction, they the rollers kind of like walk up a ramp, and then it makes things get really tight. And then, of course, if it gets really tight, it's going to drive in that direction. But when it goes the opposite direction, the rollers actually start to roll down the ramp, opening up that area, and then it freewheels in the other direction. All right, so let's take a look at what all that looks like. So, for example, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set this up. And as you can see, and it may be hard to see, but you can focus on the keyway here. I'm holding onto the shaft here, and I'm turning, and see the keyway's turning? Now, what's going to happen is when I go the other way, does the keyway turn? Absolutely not. So this thing is moving free as can be this way, but yet when I turn it this way, it's actually driving the shaft. Okay, so what does it look like and why do we need to use it? All right, so first thing is I want to make sure that I have a key installed on my shaft back here, and I do, and it moves appropriately. I'm going to take my inertial load, okay, it's actually written right on there, and I'm also going to use my 1/8 inch Allen key here, my T-handle, and if I can read inertial load, that is the hole in which the set screw is in. So, and that is also what lines up with the keyway. So I'm going to gently put this on the shaft here, make sure my keyway is, or my key is perfectly engaged or well engaged with that. And I want to make sure that my key ends up being underneath of where my set screw is so I don't tear up my shaft at all. All right, so I'm going to snug that down there, and then I'm going to give it a little tug to make sure it's not going to move. And it doesn't look like it's going to move there, so I'm going to disengage that. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to need is I'm going to roll over and grab that 15-tooth sprocket that we talked about. And I'm also going to make sure that I have the Allen wrench for that. So let's take a look at that. I have my sprocket here, and I have my 1/8 inch Allen wrench, which is perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and install this. Now, a part of installing this, we need to make sure that everything lines up this way. Now, I've already taken the liberty to make sure everything lines up the other way, but we're gonna check this out very quickly. Oh, wait a minute here. What's going to hold this on? Yeah, there's other parts to this. Okay, so what do we need? Well, there's a few other things. Let me go ahead and grab them. We are going to need these items here. These are shaft collars. Okay, and what they're going to do is they're going to basically squeeze onto the shaft and then prevent lateral movement. Okay, of this clutch here. So let's get that set up. Now also too, there's a possibility of this turning with the shaft not turning. So we want to make sure that we put thrust washers on here so we don't cause any damage. So what does it look like? Here, let's check it out real quick. I'm going to slide this one on. I'm going to slide on a thrust washer very quickly. Okay, I'm going to slide my clutch on, thrust washer. And then right before I put that on, I'm going to make sure that I get the appropriate T-handle for that. Because I want to make things easier for me. So I have the appropriate T-handle. It happens to be a 5/32 if you want to remember that. And I'm going to put this out closer to the edge as I can. And the reason I'm putting this closer to the edge is so that it's easier for me to line this up over here. So I'm going to push this up against, but I'm going to maybe back it off just a hair away to allow a little bit of lateral movement. Okay, so I don't want it bound there. So I can feel some perceptible play, but it's not moving whatsoever. So now this thing is not going to move side to side on the shaft, and I should have done that first, but now we have that corrected. And now I can go up here and start lining up my shaft. Now, if you'll notice, it may be hard to see in the camera, but this thing isn't going far enough back. So I'm going to actually turn this sprocket around because I have the ability to do so in this particular configuration. And then what I'm going to do is try this again. So I'm going to line this up and hold that up against there. And it looks like I am perfectly lined up. Go back to my 1/8 inch Allen wrench without moving this and snug this down. Okay, so now that's snug, that won't move. And I'm going to check one more time up against this surface right to here. That looks all straight. All right, now what I need to do is I need to go ahead and get myself a chain on here. So I'm going to grab a chain. So this is from the Chains Lab. We should be able to kind of hang this over. If we can't, this thing adjusts a terrible amount. You can break the chain if you'd like to put it on there. You don't have to. You can just simply do this. This makes it a little easier. This isn't something going to be super common to have this much adjustment in industry. but it's beautiful for this whole test platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to get this thing to where we get a good bit of the slack out of there. And then what we're going to do is measure, and I have about, we're going to call it 16 inches. Now, if we go back to our days, what we'll do is we'll take the 16 inches and then we're going to take an amount of that, right? We're going to take the 4%. And that's going to give us about 5/8 of an inch or so. Okay, so why is that important? Well, we need to make sure that we have some slack in here and the appropriate amount. It can't be too tight, it can't be too loose. So we're going to put the straight edge over top again, and then we're just going to push that down until all the slack is out of the bottom, and then measure that. So in this case here, I am way over an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. I'm going to take my little tool and set it for about 5/8 of an inch here, so I know exactly where to just go to. So let me go ahead and get this closer. Push down. Yes, I am right about there. Perfect. So I used my little guide here, and that made it a lot faster for me to go ahead and make that adjustment. So that is the appropriate chain slack. All right, now we're going to go ahead and take our lockout tagout off and go ahead and fire this thing up and see what this looks like and see what the result is of our little system here. I am going to grab my guard. I'm going to slip my guard back on. And then I'm going to go ahead and, again, remove the lockout. And then get this down and plug it in. Make sure it's off first. All right, so now let's go ahead and witness what is going to happen here when we do this. All right, everything is clear. And we're going to turn it on. And we're going to turn it off. Now, watch this. The chain has stopped, but the shaft is still rotating. That inertial load right there. So again, if you have some kind of an inertial load on anything, which is pretty common for knives or flywheels or anything like that, and it's going to run likely after this, the motor has slowed down. An overrun clutch is a very good thing to put on there so that you don't damage any other components. So again, that pretty much is the lab. After this, making sure that you disconnect your power, lockout, tag out back on there, and then we'll go ahead and dismantle this and get ready for the next lab.